In this clip, I'm going to demonstrate how a GAA email account holder may be issued with a new password and is about to log into his or her account, perhaps for the first time. And when that happens, the initial temporary password issued by the GAA email provider needs to be changed. So on my right hand side, I have a case where a club officer, maybe a new club officer, has been issued with a temporary password for a particular email account. So the email account here is training10.la@gaa.ie, and the password for that account is there in bold letters, capital V, small m, small n, 61505. So when you're entering a password into any application or any system, you need to be conscious of the mix of characters, and in particular, if there's letters involved, what letters are uppercase and what letters are lowercase. So that's going to be the account I'm going to be using. But first of all, I'm going to need to access the GAA email site, the mail.gaa.ie site. So I've opened up the browser here on my left-hand side, and I'm using Chrome, Google Chrome. And Chrome typically is the preferred option for GAA email and other communication. So in Chrome, I'm going to enter mail.gaa.ie, and it's already there from previous visit. So when I choose that, I'm offered a number of email addresses to log in under. None of them is the one I'm interested in at the moment. So I'm going to choose the option to use another account. If it's your first time, you'll just be thrown to the login screen like this. So I'll delete the original name that's there. And as you can see, Training 10 is actually on the list that's available to me. So I'm going to enter as a username training10.la@gaa.ie. And you'll notice in the email address that there's no spaces in particular. That's the key thing to avoid. So an email address will typically consist of letters and numbers and punctuation such as full stops, etc. And the ampersand symbol is always part of it. So when I choose next, I will then be prompted for the password. So the second part, the sign-in process, is it's looking for a password, but the old password doesn't work, or at least it shouldn't work. I'll actually try it and see, does it work? And it should be rejected, yeah, because I've asked for it to be reset. So I'll delete the old password. And I'm going to go up here and I'm going to take this is the password I want, VMN61505. So ideally, if you can, and the password is in a document like this looking at you, copy it and paste it. Now if you're doing that, just make sure that you don't copy any extra characters at the end. So make sure you don't copy, in my case, the dot here at the end. So I'm going to go to Control C to copy it, and then I'm going to flick over to the sign in, password box rather, and I'll paste it in. But if you're, obviously, if it's in a bit of paper or something else, you may have to type it in yourself. So if you're typing it in, be very careful to ensure that where it's a capital letter versus a lowercase letter, that you choose appropriately. So hopefully this will sign me in. And I'm going to ignore the update password box for the moment, the one on my own machine. But instead, what's happened is I'm forced to actually update my password. So because it's my first time logging in with this temporary password, I'm not going to be allowed to use it again because it's been issued by the GAA email provider, the help desk, and the password is known at this stage to some people in that premises, and it wouldn't be a good idea to be allowed to use the same passwords on it. It wouldn't be a good idea to be allowed to use the temporary password on an ongoing basis. So I'm going to have to enter the VM password again. So I'm just going to paste it in a second time. So that's it entered in there. And then I'm going to try a number of possible passwords. So what I have here is I have 4 possible passwords. And according to the email sent by the help desk, the opening paragraph here tells me, it says, as has happened, the user will be prompted to change this password upon first login. That's what's just happened. Please ensure passwords are at least 8 characters long and include lowercase and uppercase alphabetic characters numbers and symbols. So in my first case here, my first possible password may well be rejected by the password by the email system, because it just consists of lowercase letters. So I've chosen the word Johnny Carey, or the sequence of letters Johnny Carey, as my password. And I'm curious if that will work. So again, for convenience, I'm going to copy and paste it into the two slots. So when you're being issued with a password like this is the temporary password goes in the very first slot. The new password, or the proposed new password, goes in the second slot, and then you have to put in the same password a second time in the final slot. And that's important because it obviously is a way of double checking that you're sure of what you've entered the first time. So I'd always recommend that you type out the password that you're proposing to use, like I have here in this Word document on my right hand side. So hopefully now it will allow me sign in. But it tells me my password doesn't meet all the rules. So it says you need to update your password because this is the first time you're signing in, or because your password is expired. So there's two cases where you may be issued with a password. First time you're logging in, you're a new holder of the office, and the previous holder has left the office, and you need the password reset to ensure that you as the new holder, so that you can't be compromised, we'll say, by the activities of the previous holder of the office here in case he or she logs in. So then in red letters here, in red text, it warns me. It says passwords can't contain your user ID. They need to be at least 8 characters long with at least 3 of the following features: uppercase letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. Okay, so I have a second password here, which I'm going to try now, which is Johnny Carey 1971. So here I have so my first password only met one of the 4 possible regulations. It was all lowercase letters. So my second attempt, I'm going to try. So I'm assuming the initial password up here is fine. So I'm now trying Johnny Carey 1971, where I have all lowercase letters and I have 1971. So I'm going to try and sign in with that. And again, it's rejected. So these first two, I'll just highlight them in red just to indicate they've failed. Okay, now according to the message I'm looking at, the next option, Johnny Carey with a capital J and a capital C, and 1971 will now meet 3 of the 4 rules or regulations here. It has uppercase letters, it has lowercase letters, it has numbers. Now it doesn't have symbols. Okay, so this password will get through according to these rules. But my recommendation is that we go a step further. And the reason I recommend a step further is that the final password here, which I'll just color blue for the moment, is the strongest of all 4 passwords you see on the screen. So Johnny Carey, the first one is very weak in terms of password cracking software. Johnny Carey 1971 is a bit better. Johnny Carey with a capital J and a capital C 1971 will meet the criteria, but it could still possibly be cracked in the long run. So what's recommended to be ultra secure is you take a password where you have a mixture of, as we see here, uppercase and lowercase letters. So every second letter at the start of this password is uppercase followed by lowercase, and so on. And then over in the middle of it, I have 2 ampersand symbols, 1971, an @ symbol for an email, and an exclamation mark. And then the 365 signifies that this password is for my Office 365 account. So this password looks quite awkward, or looks quite cryptic initially, but when you think about it for a little bit, it isn't quite as obscure as it appears. So in 1971, Johnny Carey was a player with Tuam Stars, and he was Mayo's first All-Star. So if you look at my first few letters here, JC stands for Johnny Carey, T stands for Tuam, S for Stars, M for Mayo, F for first, A for all, and S for star. So I have a sentence that I have now shortened into a sequence of letters where each letter is the starting letter of a particular word in that sentence or that expression. So Johnny Carey, Tuam Stars, Mayo's first All-Star, then the ampersand symbols, then the year in question, 1971, the @ symbol, the exclamation mark, and 365 for Office 365. So on a number of grounds, first of all, this password is much longer than the other three. Secondly, as per the guidelines here, it now meets all four possible kind of rules or components of the overall rule. It has upper and lowercase characters, it has numbers, and it has other characters such as question marks, exclamation marks, asterisks, currency symbols, other symbols that you can have in a password. So that's why I'm recommending that when you're thinking of your password, not just for your GAA email, but for any system that you access, that you will consider a password like this. So it looks very obscure unless you know the actual meaning of the message. So for all aspects, whether it's or all systems, whether it's email or bank or work systems, etc., it's well worth the effort given the scale of online fraud and hacking and criminal activity. A password like this is well worth the effort in devising. So I'm now going to copy the password. I'm going to jump across and enter it, and it tells me they don't match. So now when I get down to the final box, hopefully I have the JCTS passwords now here in the second and third slot. So I said in the first slot, I have the temporary password I was issued by the help desk people. In the second and third slots, I have my proposed password in the second slot, and then a confirmation of that proposed password in the third slot. So hopefully that will allow me sign in to this account and proceed with my email. So I'm going to try and sign in. And this time it's offering me to, again, to save it on my system. And now I'm into my email. So that shows how the password has worked, and the initial temporary password has worked, and the proposed new password has been accepted. So just a final recap again. When you are issued with when you get a new account, or when you inherit an email account or an email address in your club, whether you're secretary, treasurer, chairperson, or whatever, one of the first things to do, if you understand how to do it yourself, is to change the password. If the password has been lost, get one of the other club officers to contact the help desk to request a reset. If you're the secretary and you've got the you need to get access to the secretary account, but the password has been lost or needs to be changed, you ask the chairperson or the treasurer or the PRO to email the help desk. They will get the temporary password. They can give that to you. You use it to log in. And after you've logged in, or as you log in, you must come up with your proposed permanent password, we'd say, or initial password at least, for that account. So the final option here, as has been pointed out, with the mixture of uppercase, lowercase letters, and numbers, plus other symbols, will provide a very strong password that hackers will be very, very slow to figure out. So that's the end of the clip.